Okay, so we're going to begin right now. Those of you who are not here, this analysis is going to be recorded. It's going to be on the YouTube channel, so you guys can just watch later there. Okay, so what we're going to analyze is the Britain pound and Japanese yen. What I first like to do is I first like to look at the weekly charts always, all the time, because that gives me a perspective of like what's going on, like what's going on in the overall movement, right? So here we can see we had a big bullish candle, right? It's what, Thursday? No, it's Wednesday. Okay, it's Wednesday. So this weekly candle is reaching a resistance. What I'm going to do is, first of all, I like to draw my support and resistances based on the weekly time frame all the time. It's something that I've gotten used to now. Okay, so I'm going to draw my resistance, the weekly. Good enough. And then I'm going to draw my support on the weekly as well. There we go. That's my support. Looks good. Okay, so now I have this little range, right? So now the next weekly candle is probably going to be a little bit bearish, and then it's going to go bullish, right? Depends of what happens, because here we had a nice bearish push, and then we had another bearish push. Same thing happened here. Price reached the resistance, got knocked back down, right? And now this candle is a nice bullish candle, right? So this tells me that the next one is probably going to be a little bit bullish, because we have a nice strong range here, like nice strong resistance here based on the weekly time frame. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in my daily and see what's going on in this range over there. Okay, perfect. So here we have our daily. Here you can see that there was a little bit push down. This must have been from some news event, right? Or this probably was from the day when GBP had a flash crash, right? Because it got pushed down and then it came back into this range, right? So on the daily, what I like to do is I would probably want to move my resistance down to here. Okay, and okay, this is another candle. Now, one other thing that I like to do is, now let's say if I have my resistance at the very top, right? Oh, by the way, if you guys have any questions, you guys can put questions in the chat box right here. Okay, so after we're done, I'm just going to answer a few questions, but I'm sure I'm going to cover everything here. Okay, so what I like to do is I like to highlight these wick areas. Like, you see this here? There's a wick over here, there's a wick over here, and over here, right? So I like to highlight these. The reason why is because this tells me that this was the price from which the prices were knocked down and the candles closed below this price, 127,920. You know, 924. So I'm going to draw a rectangle here. This would be this is what I like to call a rejection zone. That if price reaches into this zone, it's probably going to get rejected, right? And the same thing I do at the bottom as well. Actually, like, you know what? I'm going to leave the bottom as it is because I have these two big candles. So I would want to know what's happening in the 4-hour time frame, right? So I do this, and now I'm going to go into my 4-hour time frame. Before 4 hours. Okay, now we have a little bit of more information of what's going on with this pair on the smaller time frame. Okay, let's zoom out a little bit. Perfect. Awesome. Sounds good. Okay, so now as you guys can see, this was my top resistance, and this is my consolidation zone, my rejection zone. So what happened in this rejection zone? as you guys can see here, like the price came into the, well, this was a flash crash and then came back in. Price was into this zone, came into this channel, and then it went up, got rejected, came back down, made a few wicks. Actually, let's make another rejection zone here at the bottom. You're right over here. Okay, awesome. So here, price went up, broke through resistance, went into the rejection zone, and came back in. And, you know, it came back down, and then went up, came down, went up. Now, this is current price action right here. This candle is what's happening right now. Now, what happened was the price broke through resistance earlier, like probably half an hour ago, probably an hour ago, and it got rejected from this rejection zone and came back in. So what's probably going to happen is that after this, price is probably going to move down because you can see it's been in a nice trend, right? One more thing, what I like to do is I like to have like multiple influences, which means like I need to have multiple confirmations that the price is going to be bearish, right? So one confirmation is
I'm making your bed then.
Price action. One moment, there's something playing in the background. Okay. Holy, what is that? There's. Okay, one moment here. Okay, price action. First thing I like to look at is the price action, right? Price action here is like where the price is. Now, what I can see is that there's resistance and price moved up to resistance and it got rejected. So it's probably gonna keep continuing down, right? So that's my first information I like to get. My second information is gonna be candles. Okay. Now, from that, what I mean is like, now we're looking at the 4-hour time frame, right? So you want to look at the health of the candles. Now here we had a big bullish candle, and then we had a small bullish candle, right? And now this one is turning out to be a bearish bullish, a bearish 4-hour candle because it's around 8:30 Eastern, and in the next half hour, the 4-hour candle is going to close. So what you guys can see here is that price is exhausting, like the bullish move is slowly exhausting itself, right? So that's my second confirmation. My third confirmation is what I've recently started to use is trend lines. Okay. So this is trend line. So the way I use trend lines is that I like to connect the lower lows with the lower high, with the lower lows, and I like to connect the lower highs with each other. So for that, what you have to do is you have to zoom out. Let's zoom out here a little bit. Okay, there we go. And zoom into this area. Okay. Now, as I can see, is that this was the highest point, right? So now, to draw trend lines, you can draw trend lines any way you want. Just make sure when you're drawing trend lines, you're connecting the lower highs with the lower highs, right? Just to make sure that they are actually being connected. So from here, you can see we had a high over here, or over here, and then we had another lower high over here. We had another lower high here, over here, and then and then we're probably gonna have another lower high right over here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna draw a trend line here, and let's see if all these connect. Okay, so if I go from here and draw a trend line, okay. So I guess this looks okay to me. Just extend it over there. Okay. Now, one thing is all these points, they don't have to be precise, right? Like they have to be within the area. Because if you can see over here, this is almost in the area right over here. You can see another confluence here, right over here, right over here. And now we're going to zoom into our original pattern that we were looking at. And let's see where the trend line is. Okay. Okay, so perfect. So the trend line matches with my rejection zone, right? What that means is now this is my third influence, like my third information that I like to have that, okay, like, you know what, this is actually getting rejected from the trend line, so it's probably going to go bearish in the next couple of hours or so. But also, mind you, there's also news on GBP. There's GBP news at 4:30. GBP news. There's a high impact news on GBP, so like, you know, that could also affect our price action, right? But like from what I see that it's probably going to go down. Like, I mean, this has been trending up, right? This has been trending up. So one thing that I like to look for is I like to see if the chart is not going in one direction, right? So what I mean from that is, now let's say if the news is going to be good for GBP, right? If the news is going to be good, how far can this price move up, right? How far can it move up? There has to be a time where the price will exhaust and fall back into this channel, right? So now if the news is going to be bad, then obviously it's going to come all the way down, right? But the news is like at, I think it's in 8 hours, so we still have some time. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over how I would like to take positions and stop loss based on this setup right over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Let's zoom into this part here. Okay. So from here, what I can see is that our price is at this point. Actually, just zoom in a little bit more. Okay, so our price is at this point. So what I can do is, now if price moves back down, I would like to have a pending order at this point here. Actually, I would like to make it 1.128.020. Okay, so I can have a pending order right over here. Actually, I'm going to have a pending order. Let's do it at 1.28030. Okay, so we're going to have a pending order right over here. Perfect. Right, because either way, price has to come up, has to retest this level, has to retest the trend line, and then back down, right? Even though if there is some news, that news would push GBP up if the news is good for the pound, but then eventually it's going to come back into this channel because fundamentally what we know is that GBP is heading weaker. So with it heading weaker, it's going to come back into this channel. Right now, I might be wrong. It's correct, right? That's why you also put stop losses. Now, based on this setup here, I'm going to have my stop loss above my rejection zone and above the trend line, right? So this would be a good point to have a stop loss. Let me just change the color to red. This would be our stop loss right over here. Okay, now if our pending order is here, our stop loss is around, it's almost 250 pips away, 250 micro pips away. That's a decent size stop loss, right? So from here, what I'm going to do is I like to go into the 1 hour time frame because I want to know what's actually going on in detail. I'm just going to see if there are any questions. Okay, no questions. Wonderful. All right, so now I'm in our 1 hour time frame. Zoom out a little bit. Okay, there's a question. Okay, hi. Hey, Alex. All right, awesome. So 1 hour time frame. What you can see in a 1 hour time frame is that price actually, now what most people do is, let's say if price reached at this point, right? If price reached at this point, what you want to do is you don't want to take a position early. Cool, it works. Yeah, perfect. So what you want to do is you don't want to take a position early. It's really, 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 really important that you wait for the price to come to you. I can't stress this enough that you always have to wait for the price to come to you. Now, the reason I have a pending order here, because I can see that it's still in a bullish trend, right? It's still going up. We don't have enough confirmations from this 1 hour time frame that's going to continue coming down, because the reason is, now you see here, now if you would have taken a sell over here, right, thinking that you might miss out, what happened in the next hours? Like, you know, it moved up, and you would probably be sitting in negatives right now, right? That's why you have to wait. Now, that's why I waited till it came to the resistance, and I wouldn't take the sell right at resistance. That's why I have my zone drawn out. This zone tells me that this is the extent of the price where it will go in. I'm having a language barrier here, sorry. So that's why I'm gonna wait till the price comes to my pending order, activates it, and from there I will let the market do its thing. So that's how I'm gonna take my entries. I'm just gonna wait for the 4 hour candle to close to see where the price is. If, let's say, for some reason price doesn't activate my pending order, I would probably take a sell, but I would still wait, right? Because I have this trend line, and I'm a big believer that price would always retest the trend lines again and again. Now, how do I take my take profit points, right? So once you've taken a sell entry, you have your stop loss. Stop loss is 25 standard pips away. I would I'll put my take profits at around some zones over here, but I would like to see, okay, no. We're in the 1 hour time frame. Here, what I would like to do is I would like to draw more support and resistance zones. Actually, it's just going to be support zones. So from the get-go, I can see I have support right over here. This wouldn't be called a support. Let me draw a rectangle here. Now this zone wouldn't be called a support zone because this is just consolidation. Like, you know, this is consolidation for a little bit move up, and from there it would probably consolidate here, or it's gonna continue falling down hard, right? So this I wouldn't call my support zone. What a safe support zone for me would be at this point here. Okay, because you can see there was support here, there's resistance here, and there's good amount of support here and resistance here, right? So this would be my first take profit point. From here onwards, I can have my another take profit point right at the bottom, right over here. Right, so I'm going to draw another support right at the bottom, right at this area. This would be my second take profit point. Now, mind you, this this range is only let's for simplicity, let's call it 128 to 120. This is like probably around 150 standard pips, I would say. 126, 128, yeah. 126, 128. Yeah, it's around like 150 standard pips. This is like good enough, but in the long run, what I see is I see Britain pound to be weakening, right? So I would expect Britain pound to like fall even below, break this support, and like come all the way down to these levels here. So I'm going to draw another. Actually, let's zoom out over here. Zoom out so I can have a better view. Okay. So I'm going to draw my major supports right over here. This would be my major support over here, and another support zone right at the bottom. So fundamentally speaking, as Brexit is just around the corner, like the hard Brexit is going to happen soon. So based on that, I can see British pound weakening, right? And now, what I personally think is that Britain pound is going to fall below this support zone and reach this area. So personally, I'm going to leave my position open for a sell, and I would just like let the market do its thing, right? So one more important thing is, let's say you took your sell, right? Let's say you took your sell and price reached this area here, right? So what most people like to do is, what they like to do is they like to take their profits, right? So now they say you should always cut your losses short and you should always let your profits run. So what I like to do is once price reaches there, I close half of my position and I bring my stop loss to break even. Let's say I took my price here, right? So bring my stop loss to break even all the time, because what if price reverses from this point, right? What if price reverses from this point and your stop loss was way up here and it reaches your zone and it stops you out in negative, right? That's not good. So that's why you always want to bring your stop loss in break even. So if price reverses, you will still end up in a profit. It's going to be a small profit, but at least it's not going to be a loss, right? So now let's say price goes below this zone and comes to our third take profit point. I close more positions and then I bring my stop loss into profits, right? So I can secure what profits I've already gotten, right? So that's my one strategy that I use. It's really, really important, because what some traders like to do is they try to take small profits a number of times, right? So now you're not going to make a lot of money if you just take small profits again and again and again. The trick is to let your profits run as far as you can. Now, price will come down to this zone. It will bounce up a little bit. It will bounce up a little bit, but you have to let the market breathe. You have to let the market do its thing. Because if you look at this point here, let's say you took a buy at this point, right? You took a buy, it went up, hit your take profit, it started to come down, right? What happened? It found support at this area and then it continued to go up, right? This is market breathing. What that means is this zone here, this is market breathing. Now that means now the market had rallied up, right? Just like a sprinter, right? Like when you're running a sprint, you're going to run for like a little time and then you're going to stop and take a breather, right? That's what happened here. Market, it rallied up, it took a breather, rallied up a little bit and took a breather, and then it continued to go up and up and up, and like wherever your take profit would have been, it hit your take profit point, right? So that's what I mean. You have to let the market do its thing, because at the end of the day, it has to reach this zone. If it not, well, oh well, it's Forex, stuff happens, right? So this was my 1 hour zone, and let's go into our 4 hour. Okay, so yeah, that's basically it. I'm just going to recap really quick of what happened. Those people who are just joining in, don't worry, this analysis was actually recorded. The recording will be on the YouTube channel after we're done over here. So I'm just going to do a quick recap of what we did. Basically, what we did was we looked at the weekly time frame first. Okay. This looks so crazy over here. Okay, I'm going to try to make it as much sense as I can. Okay, so we looked at the weekly time frame first. There we can see there was a bearish candle. There was a wick was created here, and there was a bullish candle. So you would want to draw your resistance and support on weekly first. That's what I like to do personally, and it has been working. After that, you jump into your daily time frame to see a little bit more of what's going on in that area, right? So here you can see that your resistance was held strong, your support was also held strong. right? And then what I like to do is I like to draw these rectangles on my wicks, right? I call them my rejection zones, okay? And then I go into my 4-hour time frame. And I like to see a little bit of more action. Oh, this is a pain zooming out in this thing. Okay, 4-hour time frame. Here now what I saw was that the price is in a nice range. Question here, was your pending order already hit? No, my pending order was not already hit. I'm just waiting for that to happen. I think it's going to be hit by the next 4-hour candle because it has to go up a little bit. That's what I think. Even if it doesn't go up, I'm still going to take a sell based on where price action is at that point. Confused kind of volume rejection zones. No, I actually don't look for. I actually don't look at volume because the thing with volume is if you're trading in an Asian time zone, there's going to be volume for the GBPJPY, right? There's always going to be volume for GBPJPY, and after Asian, you're going to hit the European time zone, and then there's going to be volume for the GBP, right? So there's always going to be volume. The only thing you got to look for is that you're not, yeah, exactly, you know, that it explodes. There's a lot of volume. Okay, so these are my rejection zones. Okay, so here, what I like to do is I like to look at 3 influences. I'm going to look at my price action, where my price action is, right? It's at resistance, number 1. Number 2, candles. Are the candles exhausting or not? Here I can see the candles are actually exhausting, right? There was a big bull candle. Actually, let me zoom in over here. We had a big bull candle, and then we had a smaller bull candle, and then we had like an exhaustive bearish candle, right? So that means that it is actually exhausting. Okay, and then a third, I draw trend lines. What I mean by that is I draw trend lines, I try to connect my lower lows or my lower highs with the lower highs. So zoom out really quick. So if you zoom out on your 4-hour time frame, I drew my trend line from the very top and I made sure that it connected, right? So now, if you see this, we have 1 point here. We have 1 point here. We have 1 point here. And we're about to have another point over here. Zoom in a little bit more. Yeah, see, so we have another point over here. We like to draw them so they touch top of the wicks. Yeah, exactly. Like this is so that I know that this is the area where the price is probably going to get rejected. Okay, another question is some people like to draw them cutting through. Yeah, some people like to do that, but I personally like it this way. Like I would draw my resistance first based on the candle close, right? And then I'm going to look for the wicks, which are above the resistance, and then I'm going to draw my zones here, which would tell me that most probably price is going to be rejected from these zones inside. Another question. Can you draw the trend line after an anomaly that happens? So you have a pending order for news, right? No, I don't have a pending order. Personally, I'm going to wait for the pending order. I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait for the news, right? Because I don't want to get stuck in a bad situation, or I don't want to get stuck in a what do you call it? I don't want to get stuck in a losing trade that will hit my stop loss. So I had a question to draw the trend line again, so I'm just going to do that really quick. Okay, let's remove these boxes. Okay, so I'm going to draw my trend line again. I'm going to start from the very top. This was the top. We reached a lower high, another lower high. This is another lower high now, and then right over here. Do that over here. Trend lines can never be perfect, but you just got to make sure that you're getting the influences that you're looking for, right? Put this as blue. Okay, now I'm going to zoom in. zoom at this point, and what do we see? We see a nice confluence that, okay, trend line is actually, it's actually at the point here, right? So, okay, so I have my three confluences: price action, candles, trend lines. This could be a nice bearish trade, right? Next thing I like to do is I like to go into 1 hour time frame. Go into 1 hour time frame for my entry points and my stop losses, right? So I'm just going to wait for the pending order here to be triggered. If you want, I'm going to take a sell over here. After I see where this candle closes, it's going to be a small position, but I'm just going to let it ride, right? So if I take my pending order here, I'm going to make sure my stop loss is above my rejection zone and above the trend line, right? Because what are the chances that the price is going to come out of my rejection zone? Because if you see over here, zoom out. There wasn't many chances. There's like less chance that the price is going to come out of this rejection zone, right? Like the last time it happened was way back in October 10th. It happened on October 10th, but after this, when price went down, it started ranging here, right? So there's like less chance that's going to happen again. So I'm taking the question. 500 points? No, it's actually 250. It's actually 250 micro pips. Let's go in here. Okay, so this is 128, and then we have 235. So it's actually like 235, around like 200 micro pip stop loss. So the reason why you started on weekly as opposed to daily per se. Yeah, the reason is because I looked at the weekly first because I want to know where the weekly candles were, right? So I have an idea how the week is going, right? Because if you study candles, you would notice that after after every bull candle, there has to be a certain bearish move, right? So if you look at the smaller time frames, those bearish moves on the smaller time frames are going to be much bigger than what you would see on a weekly, because 7 daily candles is 1 weekly candle, right? So it takes a little bit of time. And then I look at the daily. Like looking at the weekly just tells me what's going on. Like it's like you're looking at Earth from space, right? Now, once you're looking at daily, this means that you're looking at the ground from the plane or something like that, right? And then I go into my 4 hour, they're looking at the ground from the roof, and then I go into my 1 hour. 1 hour for me, it would mean is that I'm looking everything up close and all the details of what's actually going on in that point. I actually have 3 minutes left here. Let's see, doesn't that look like it's going to go up on the weekly time frame? Yeah, it does look like that, but if you okay, it does look like that, but if you look at the resistance line, you see here now price came back down, it went up, and it got rejected all the way down, right? From here, price went up, it got rejected from the resistance, it came down. Now from here, price went up on the weekly, and if you look close enough, price was rejected from resistance. Now it's slowly coming down, right? And this candle still has 2 days to close. Right, so who knows? It might close over here, it might close over here, or it might close over here. Because the candle before this, it reached all the way here, and then it got rejected. So you're using limits tonight. Yeah, I'm going to be using limits. I'm going to be using limits, but it's going to be a small position, just because there's news for GBP in like 8 hours. So I wouldn't want to compromise some of my profits. That's I'm going to use a small position, and then I'm going to reanalyze after the news. Okay, so perfect. So it's heading down. So I'm just going to wait for the 4 hour to close, and then I'm going to reanalyze of where to take a position. But yeah, that's it, guys. Again, those of you who joined later, this analysis is recorded and is going to be on the YouTube channel in the next hour or so. Okay. All right. Have a nice day. Cheers. Thank you. All right. Perfect. Cheers, mate.